Man United has just lost 3-0 at home against Spurs, and this was just an abysmal performance from top to bottom. It was absolutely embarrassing, and honestly, I had a bit of faith going into this game. Like, the team seemed confident, and Hag was saying, like, you know what, we're going to start this game off on the front foot, we're going to attack, we're going to try to score goals and win the game, obviously, and that plan just did not happen. 3 minutes into the game, Johnson scored a goal, and I was like, oh no, the plan's out the window, because these guys, this bunch of players, are not confident. We get a goal against us, and they just, boom, confidence goes, and there's just, like, no way to win games now. And it was just so frustrating to see after all the confidence going into this game, for them to just get scored on right away was just terrible. And then on top of that, they scored right at the start of second half when I thought, okay, maybe we've got a chance to turn this around, especially after a Bruno Fernandes red card, which left us a man down. And let's talk about that, because he obviously slipped and then he was trying to get the ball, but since he was slipping, his leg was a little bit higher, and he's like studs up on the shins of, I believe it was Madison. And, yeah, it's like a 50-50, straight red card. In my opinion, I think it probably should have been a yellow just because he was slipping. If that slip didn't happen, then yeah, that's a straight red, but the fact that he did slip, I think, the ref was a little bit too harsh towards him. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a bad challenge, but you gotta factor in the slip, in my opinion, and I can totally see how some people would be like, no, you're crazy, it's a straight red, and honestly, I respect that opinion. This game just was not good. It was basically Tottenham just having an offensive drill day against us, because they were literally in our box for like half the game or more, is what it felt like. Shot after shot after shot, and if Onana wasn't as good as he was today, we would have lost probably 5-6, maybe even 7-0. And they did hit the post in this game as well. Just the defense was just not on it today. Martinez didn't have a great game. The midfield was giving the ball away all the time. We could barely get it out of our box. Offensively, we were trying to create, but it was just not happening for us. Like, Højlund almost got a couple of goals near the end of the game, and that's really all I can remember. Like, we didn't have that many great chances, which is a big problem for this season, because we need goals to win games. Like, you can pass around the ball, and do well at that, but if you don't get the ball in the back of the net, you ain't gonna win games. And that is what's so frustrating about this United side right now. Like, we have good technical players, but they're just not goal scorers, finishers, Like, even players like Højlund, Xerxes, Rashford, Garnacho, whatever, they're not going to get you, like, 30 goals a season. I know Rashford did a couple of times, but, his performances are just, amazing season, bad season, and hopefully this year's a good season, but so far it hasn't started too well. But the point I'm trying to make is we don't have someone that's going to get you, 30 goals a season, bare minimum, which has been a huge problem for us for years. So we really, really need like a, world-class striker that is gonna bang in goals for us, because, we're gonna struggle to get goals, because pretty much all of our offense, they're gonna get 5 to 15 goals this season in the Premier League. So, we're gonna be struggling for goals here. Let's take a look at today's stats here. So Spurs had 61.4% possession, which is insane. They're at an away game. They're at Old Trafford. The fact that they dominated us that bad is just sad to see. They had 10 shots on target, 24 shots total. They just completely outclassed us defensively and offensively. Manchester United is now in 12th place in the Premier League. That is absolutely embarrassing. We have a -3 goal difference, only 7 points in 6 games. And I am really worried for Erik ten Hag right now. 7 points in 6 games, that is not good enough as a Man United manager. And the way we're playing, it doesn't look the greatest. We're not scoring a ton of goals. We're not very exciting to watch. We've had some really poor results, and we're only just getting started with this season, and the fact that he got backed as well as he did in the summer too, and all that, I think people are going to start calling for his head right now. Especially because our next 2 games are actually going to be pretty difficult. We have an away game at Porto in Portugal. That is going to be a very tough game, and if we get beaten that game, I'm severely worried for Ten Hag, especially if we lose that and then go to Aston Villa and lose that. I think he's going to be sacked by October 7th, the morning of October 7th, which is a Monday, if he loses those 2 games. But if we get a result against Porto and we win against Aston Villa, I think, he's back. But I am really worried. I know the narrative around the club is going to be super toxic. All the media is going to be saying, should Ten Hag be sacked? And all this nonsense. The same thing that we dealt with last season, except it's going to be amplified now that, we have the new ownership and we've got all these signings for him and we're still not performing. I wouldn't even be surprised if Ten Hag gets sacked after the Porto or Aston Villa game, and then Ruud ends up becoming our interim manager for at least, a month or two until we can find someone else, except I don't really know what big name managers out there that can take a job of this size. I could also see us doing really well under Ruud, and then United give him a contract in the summer, just like they did with Ole. Which I think is a mistake, don't get me wrong, but I could totally see us doing it, even with the new ownership. But yeah, guys, that was today's game against Spurs. We lost 3-0. It was not a pretty game. Bruno got a red, so he's going to be out for a couple of games, which is going to be a huge miss. I know some people say, oh, Bruno shouldn't be starting. He needs a rest, blah, blah, but he still creates chances. He tries hard. He's our captain. The fact that we're going to be missing a creative player who's also our team captain for the next couple of games, and they're big games, is really, really worrying. But guys, that's today's game. We lost 3-0 against Spurs at home. Very, very embarrassing game. They just tore apart our defense. We had a center back basically run the entire field and get an assist. It was just not a good game. This club, I tell you, they lose a game, your whole mood changes, and, we're going to have a lot of turmoil surrounding the club now, and who knows, Ten Hag might get sacked. It is just not a great start to the season. But let me know what you guys thought about today's game down below in the comments.